Hey man, aren't you Rhyan Finch?
Hey, what's up, man? How you doing?
Is this your building?
Yeah.
Can we check it out?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey guys, Giovanni Paradise here, standing with Rhyan Finch, the CEO and founder of First Class Real Estate. We're gonna go inside and check out this beautiful piece of commercial property that he's renovating.
Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, ayy, on the road, here we go.
So let's talk a little bit about why we're here, Ryan, and the building that we're standing in. We're right here in the smack dab middle of the strip, here in Virginia Beach, right on the ocean front. We can see the ocean right here from this window. Why are we here? Why did you acquire this property?
You know, I saw it as a good opportunity. I wanted to, and originally I thought about even putting my office in this, but I saw it as good real estate. They're building a wave park. A lot of infrastructure and investment is going in down here, and so I just wanted to make sure I made an investment. The second thing was interest rates at the time were low, so I wanted to lock up as much capital into low interest rates as I possibly could, so that was a part of it. The other part of it is people will tell you got to have like a plan. They're like, what are you going to do? Are you going to move in here? Are you going to rent it out? Are you going to sell it or whatever? And I said, I don't know. I made condo it out. I have the ability to condo the top and bottom. I know a guy an attorney, and I've done that on multiple properties. I can sell one and keep the other, or sell both separately, which usually increases values. I can rent it out. I've got somebody potentially wants to rent the bottom. I could rent it out and sell it. I can end up owner occupying it. I could break it up into different things. Ideally, there's a lot next door that I want to take this down and potentially get the city to give me that. And then if they give me that, then I'll spend the money to improve it, potentially take it 6 floors high, put some Airbnbs and things like that, and then combine these two buildings together.
100%. This building we're standing in is it's raw, it's a shell. You know, I'm a house flipper by trade. This is a larger development for me that I'm standing in, but from what I can see, a lot of stuff in here is brand spanking new. What was the condition of this property when you acquired it?
When it came in, this floor over here was all sunk down and about to fall in. They had to have it jacked up with a thing underneath. There was water damage that was in all of this. Redid the roof. We cut open all of these windows over here because there was no daylight in here. It was a dark nightclub. There was a bathroom over here. You can't tell that, but there was walls. It was all closed in. We opened that up because it's going to open up a huge, beautiful view. We kept a lot of this architectural brick because people pay for this value that's here. But then we wanted the new feel that's going to go over here. A lot of people don't realize this, but you can actually use sticks in commercial when you think that you have to use metal. By the time we put sheetrock up, you won't know the difference in that framing. And at the same time, it's so cost effective to giving you the same result that you want.
100%. We knew that you had a big, extensive background in the residential space. This is probably one of your larger commercial kind of rehabs. It's kind of completely rehab from start to finish. What have you learned? What has been different about the commercial space than the residential space?
Sure. So one of the things I learned in residential was you don't want to overbuild. All right, you don't want to overbuild for the neighborhood. If you end up putting in granite, it could be something that someone likes, but it may not necessarily give you the money back. You may put in a pool, you may put in an add-on of some sort, but it doesn't give you a value. You don't want to do it. Well, the same thing I did on another commercial building. I put hundreds of thousands of dollars into stuff that I liked because I was moving in there, but I never recouped that on the sale. And now what I realize in that is in commercial, you almost skinny back a little bit. You put in the shell, and then you can allow those people that come in to improve it to whatever level that they want.
Awesome. That's beautiful. And a lot of people might be sitting here, you know, especially people that have been in the residential space and have done rehabs, or people that are getting started. They see, okay, yeah, you bought this building, it was distressed, and just boom, you start construction, no big deal, as long as you got the team. Is it that easy just to come in here and start doing construction?
No. Heck no. So commercial takes a lot longer, especially right here. You're in the city, in the main part of the city. And so we've got to go down to the city. They've got to get approval for everything. You've got to get architectural and engineer drawings. Everything that went on, we were going to add on a rooftop. So that was going to involve some steel and different things like that. So that's also where I said I had to back away because I wasn't going to get the improvement value that I wanted from it. So I had to change midstream. Then you go back and you have to change it. Then you got to go back to the city and change it. And you go all the way through that process. So it's a long, tedious process to go do it, but I wanted to do it so I could figure it out. I actually was going to hire a GC to do it. They gave me a bid that was $400,000 over what I thought I could get it done for. So I said, well, if I can go in and manage it, hire my own GC, then I can get it done for less, and then that will be a value added back in.
That's beautiful. And let's talk about just taking a property down to this size.
Okay.
Because people understand fix and flip loans, they understand hard money. Some people might understand on a small scale. What type of loan to value or loan to cost do you get on a property like this, and what type of cash is needed for the renovations?
So I like to find things that other people don't see a value in, and some of it I probably did what others probably wouldn't have done, meaning it wasn't necessarily a good idea. But so when I took it down, I expected the appreciation to go up. So I was betting on that. I knew I was taking down a 4% loan, but when I purchased it, it's 20% down, you purchase it, then you got to do all the work, right? And so what you do in this case, what I did is I locked down all the construction repairs in a line of credit to add on. So, right, so you have the purchase price, then the line of credit, and it's all based on the improvement value. So you get an appraisal on it of what it'll be after the value. It gives us a $2 million project, and then we say, okay, we bought it for $1 million, we're gonna put 400 in it, and now you'll be in it for, well, technically you'll be in it for 1.2 because you put 200 down, but so,
Absolutely.
so now you're in it for 1.2 and it's worth $2 million and you've got 200 in it.
So 20% down to acquire the property.
Right.
And then because you kind of bought it at a discount and you kind of saw value add where others didn't, you're able to pull an equity line because you bought it basically at 50% loan to value.
Right.
That's beautiful.
But
And
it needed a ton of work, right?
But it
so
needed
it's
a
a
ton of
$500,000 project. You've got carrying costs, but once you're running the interest only, you can run interest only for a certain period of time, and then after that, you're running, you're running the meter on that. But you add in the interest of pulling back on the line of credit, and you start paying off the contractors and all that stuff, and now all of a sudden the deal's structured, and then you have a full finance deal at 4%.
Awesome. And I just kind of want to talk about for people that are watching this and maybe newer to real estate, what Ryan did, where this building is positioned, the potential for appreciation is enormous. Like he said, we have a huge, massive, development going here on 19th Street, which is a wave park, which Pharrell Williams and some other big players are involved in. There's constant developments going on here at the Oceanfront. As this appreciates, and like you said, if you decide to keep it, the debt service gets paid down by tenants, your net worth or your wealth in this property and the equity is growing substantially.
Well, huge advantages obviously for the tax. So everything you do in a rehab like this, you can do a cost segregation study. Beautiful. And then you can depreciate it at an escalated rate. So now I can take all the improvement, whereas the thing that someone looked at as a negative was I was buying a property and had a huge construction amount to do. Well, that technically is a benefit to me because now I can take the huge construction and that now becomes tax savings. So it was like tax-free money. So now I have low interest and equity and a tax savings.
So tell them why it's tax-free money.
Well, so what happens is you take that amount of money, we take $400,000 in the improvements, not necessarily the purchase price or the land value, but in the improvements. And then when you take those off, we can take $400,000 of income I made in another business and then turn around and take it as depreciation. And so I don't pay tax on $400,000.
So basically what you've been telling us, Ryan, is that this building has allowed you multiple benefits in your business. And you always have a saying that money's in the money. You were talking about that. Explain that a little further.
Well, so the money's in the money. What happens is everyone goes out there and works and they think, well, if I could just get to be the CEO, if I could just buy the property at the right time, if I could just get the opportunity. And ultimately, these opportunities are out there all the time. What happens is they don't have a DNA inside of them that's taking risk. And so that's what I was trying to allude to in all of this is that we took a risk. We don't know the full picture of what it's going to be. And some people say, I don't have the money. I can't afford to go risk that. And what's happened is that risk and doubling down has had to happen over and over and over and over. And so that's what you're looking for is the double down and take the risk and make an opportunity. And what happens is the more of those opportunities you take, usually the luckier you get on some of those other opportunities. And so I don't care if you're working a job at McDonald's. If you can save up enough money, then you're going to go find an opportunity. And it may not be something this big. I didn't do something this big to start with either. But ultimately, all the things we're talking about, they started with an opportunity. We went and did hard money lending. We borrowed money to do hard money lending so that we could roll money over and over and over again. We bought properties. We borrowed money to go do that because we could afford to pay the payments so that we can do it that way. We borrowed money so that we could buy properties and so that we could flip those. We took businesses and we rolled businesses and did acquisitions and growth so that we could scale and grow. And so ultimately all of these things are just targets and focuses, and then you go in and you keep growing and growing it. The worst thing someone's going to be able to do is talk themselves out of it. They're going to say, hey, I don't want to do that. That's too risky. This may not be for them. Money may not be for them, but ultimately everything that they're going to have to focus on is going to have to be to do their work and get their money making money. All of these that we talked about are businesses because they're self-sustaining. They can be managed and dealt with, and then you can back away from them and they can keep on going. Not something that has to be a job that you have to do over and over and over and over again.
So basically what you're saying is if you can't step back and the business still sustains its current volume and or growth or revenue, it's not a business.
Yeah, and obviously I didn't coin that. That comes from Rich Dad Poor Dad. The cash flow quadrant. You're either self-employed or you're a business owner, and so many people get that confused. I don't dabble in things. I know I'm going to put some time and energy into this to save some money in the long run to make sure that it's right. But then once it's up and going, then it's rented out and it's going forward, and now you just have an asset, and then you move on to the next one, and you do that over and over and over again.
100%. For those who are familiar with the residential space, of course you are. Tell us, there's a little bit of different things you have to do in commercial, right? There's some little codes, things that you wouldn't have to do in residential that you had to do here. Can you walk us through some of those challenges that differentiate commercial from residential?
Yeah, and so ultimately that's going to change on every single building with things that are going on. This building was grandfathered in, and because we didn't build it from scratch, it has also different things. And so I don't know all of the codes that are there, but what happens is you could actually worry about that more than it is. The only reason I say this is because that would stop me. But ultimately what happens is you run into an engineer or an architect, they know those things, and then they go look it up and they know how to find it, much like you do an attorney. And so then they'll set up and they'll put in the drawings, and then the contractors will do exactly what you need them to do. And so, you'll have things that are ADA, somebody on a wheelchair, but we're on a second floor. And so this doesn't have to be ADA because it's second floor. You would usually have to have an elevator. But because, again, we're grandfathered in, you don't have to have the elevator, which means that this doesn't have to be ADA. But if you were doing something else somewhere else, you'd need an elevator and you'd need the ADA in the bathroom.
Awesome. That's a beautiful example. So basically it goes back to what you were saying earlier about relying and leaning heavily on experts in the space. That you don't need to over process and try to worry about all these things. That's why you have experts and you kind of lean on them and streamlines your renovations.
I heard somebody say that one time. I think I was even reading in a book, and they're like, yeah, you got to have the right legal team around. You got to have the right this, that, and the other. And I went, I don't have the money for those kind of people, right? And so then what I realized quickly is the cheaper accountant is going to cost you a lot more. The cheaper CPA is going to cost you a lot more. The cheaper architect is going to cost you a lot more. The cheaper real estate agent is going to cost you a lot more, right? The cheaper things are, usually the less value that person sees in what they do. The more value you can bring, the more you can charge. And so ultimately, I like the best, and because it has a compound effect. The architect here is going to save me a lot of money by having the drawings right, where I don't have to go back. If I had to have a change order because they missed something, that's going to cost me thousands of dollars over a couple $100 difference an hour for them. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. So certain things, basically, you don't go cheap, you don't get a discounted version of it.
Right. I want the best, because the best saves you mental time and physical time with working on things, as well as it's going to save you money.
Time, value of money.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Sure.
So basically, when you developed this piece of property, you're looking at all kinds of factors. Future infrastructure, what the city's got going on, because that all goes in to the overall plan and prospectus for this as an investment.
Yeah, and so, it's an investment. It takes mental capacity with working on the numbers and running sheets. And obviously, I have an amazing team behind me that kind of keeps all of that stuff together and organizes it.
So when you got started in real estate, obviously you didn't have a massive team. You were just an agent. When did you kind of consider yourself, beginning your entrepreneurial journey?
I think it was something triggers. I think a lot of times in life, you go through something and then all of a sudden you just hit almost a breaking point. You're dealing with something and it's bothering you and bothering you and bothering you and bothering you. And then one day you just go, I'm not dealing with that anymore. And so for me, it was waking up every day, going to a construction site, and I just said, I'm not dealing with it anymore. I'm going into real estate. Doing real estate, I was doing it with somebody else, and then they were running it different than I would run it. And who am I to tell anybody how they should do it? But you just have this thing inside of you that says, I can do this better than them, right? And it's a good thing to have. It's a bad thing to have if you're wrong. Jeff Bezos said it once. He said, leaders are right a lot, right? And so I've always just remembered that. And so if you think you're right, you better be right, otherwise you're going to lose. But anyway, all that being said is, I thought I could do it better. And so I went out and I learned, again, much like this, the same pattern is the same. Opening up in real estate, going as an entrepreneur, I learned a lot of things that I did that I thought were going to work, didn't work. I've opened up businesses and I thought this was going to work, and it didn't. And so what happens is you don't stop once it doesn't work. You have to have inside of you this thing that goes and finds a way. You're like, I have to find a way. And if you don't have that inside of you and you've got a pattern over and over of not finding a way, then you better be careful of what risk you're going to take.
We really want to thank Rhyan Finch here today for peeling back the curtain, give us an inside look on his business journey as an entrepreneur and inside his amazing commercial development here down at the Oceanfront in Virginia Beach. For all things investing in real estate and to continue your education, click and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Camus Group, baby.
Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll.